Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to our live show tonight. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid Ammar.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Sayyidina, just prior to the break, you were discussing the point of perhaps Iman, how certain people, youngsters, elders, religious people, secular Muslims, in certain ways are may find it a little bit losing the way.
You see, the backdrop of this current movement can come from different angles. Either you're going to the mosque and you're not finding that the mosque is catering to your spiritual needs. Yes, so you may go to the mosque and find that the lecturer at the mosque is speaking about something that's got nothing to do with your life or your spiritual progress. So what do? You begin to question whether this religion is for you. Yes. Or it comes from possibly not being given the right explanation for certain concepts in religion, and then that puts people off the religion as well. Like I said in my answer previous, just before the break, that first and foremost, when you're saying to me, I want to be a good human being, just have a good heart, that's the teachings of the religion of Islam.
Of course. Yeah.
Secondly, look at the role models in the religion of Islam. Which of those role models do you not want to emulate?
Right.
Look at a role model like Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Yes, Imam al-Hussein stood a stand which 300 million people revere today, Muslims and non-Muslims.
Yes.
When a non-Muslim reveres Imam al-Hussein, that should be a lesson for you. That there are non-Muslims out there who say that this man is a man of God, and you want to walk away from that path. At the end of the day, if a non-Muslim is attesting to the greatness of such a personality, and you're born in a religion which has such a personality as a role model, then there really shouldn't be a problem in you following the example of these personalities. If there's a heaven or there's a hell, ultimately you'll still be successful when you followed a man like this.
Yes. When
you've had the discipline of a man like this, the etiquette of a man like this, the morals of a man like this. I don't care if there's a heaven or a hell. When I've had Hussein bin Ali as a leader, I will still live a life where I have been good to myself, truthful to myself, and truthful to the whole of humanity.
Of course. Okay, alhamdulillah. Is there a caller on the line? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you for waiting so long. Your name, please, brother, and your question?
Yeah, welcome. My name is Hassan.
Yes,
just two quick questions if Sayyid Ammar will be kind to answer.
Yes, please.
Yeah, well, the first one is just a quick random one. I've heard a story that people, some Russian experts in the 1950s went out and into a certain valley in the Iraq or something like that, and they found the Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam's ark, what they discovered it to be, and they found this platform or wooden whatever it is, and it had the names of Ahlul Bayt, Bayt al-Baq alayhim as-salam on it.
Right.
So I'd just like to see how valid is that.
Okay.
I want to find out that. And the second question is referring to the Quran, chapter 3, verse 7. I've seen Sayyid Ammar refer to a certain discussion that happens about whether the waw is waw al-fasl or waw al-wasl. So I want more light shed on that, inshallah.
Sure. In terms of the first question about the Ark of Noah, the first question is that when they saw parts or pieces of the Ark of Noah,
the authenticity.
Authenticity that they saw Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein, and the idea that Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, which we have in our traditions, that he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, in the name of Muhammad, wa anta al-Mahmud, in the name of Ali, wa anta al-A'la, in the name of Fatima, wa anta Fatir al-Samawat wal-Ard, in the name of al-Hassan, wa anta al-Muhsin, in the name of al-Hussein, wa anta Qadim al-Ihsan. He asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help when the flood was taking place. Now, some people say, well, is this piece true that they found the names of the Ahl al-Bayt? Look, the authenticity of this and all of these types of things are open to question, no doubt.
Right.
We need to understand something. We can hear from people such stories.
Yeah.
Does not necessarily mean they didn't happen or they did happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you it's 100% true. There is a good chance that it's a hoax and a story that's just gone around on the internet. It's a good chance there's a story. I remember once quoting something about someone who had become a follower of Ahl al-Bayt, a quite prominent personality.
Right.
People came to me, they said, you know what, we went and asked people and it's not true. They don't know that that same person, after he had openly said the story, began to be wary of ever saying the story again because the authorities in the country where he was living, knowing he's a public figure, wanted to arrest him.
Okay.
So when people went to him and said, we heard the story about it, he said, there's no such story. You're like, but someone heard it from you. You're like, well, no, there's no such story. Because of dissimulation. So sometimes people, when they say, you'll see people saying, oh, they get these stories and they're all not authentic. Listen, do we know whether Prophet Nuh alayhi salam asked through Ahlul Bayt? Yes, we do. It's in our traditions.
Yeah.
Is there a piece which is authentic? You could go and ask an archaeologist. Don't ask someone in my field. I'm not an archaeologist. I can't tell you if it's authentic or if it's not. But what I can tell you is that in theological or legal traditions, you will find that the permissibility of using intermediaries is there.
Yes.
And that Nabi Nuh was of the prophets of Allah who used Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Do I need a piece of the ark to prove it? No, I don't. I already believe from Adam until the very last of the prophets before the Holy Prophet, they would use the Ahlul Bayt for intercession. You know, and you don't necessarily need a piece of the ark to prove the authenticity. In terms of the second question, which was about the ayah in the Quran, talking about those who are endowed with knowledge of the muhkam and the mutashabih verses in the Holy Quran. Yes, when it talks on the idea of the fact that Allah has this knowledge and al-rasikhun fil ilm.
Right.
Al-rasikhun fil ilm, they are asking the question that the waw, which talks about al-rasikhun fil ilm, is it saying only Allah has that knowledge of the muhkam mutashabih, and those endowed with knowledge say we believe in the Lord? Or is it saying that no, Allah and those who have been endowed with knowledge have the knowledge and the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowledge of the muhkam mutashabih verses? There is no doubt that if you put this ayah alongside other ayahs in the Holy Quran, you will find once again this connection between the knowledge of Allah and that which He has given to His chosen servants. Yes? And there is no doubt no one is privy to the muhkam and the mutashabih of the Quran than the Ahlul Bayt. And that's why you find each Imam of Ahlul Bayt being the only personalities who say we are the ones aware of the muhkam and we are the ones aware of the mutashabih. Yes?
Yes.
Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib in many of his sermons says, I am the one who knows the muhkam and the mutashabih. Yes? Meaning I'm the one who can tell you the decisive verses and I'm the one who can tell you the metaphorical verses. And I'll give you the zahir and the batin of every single ayah of the Holy Quran. Yes? And even the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi would go to Ali ibn Abi Talib when they want to know the tafsir of any ayah of the Holy Quran. Not just Ibn Abbas, not just Abdullah bin Mas'ud. But they would go to Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam and he would give them this. So, if you say it's Allah alone, we don't mind. Allah has already said that Al Muhammad are the walking repositories of knowledge on the earth. Yes. If you're saying it's Allah and the Ahlul Bayt, no doubt Allah has given knowledge to Al Muhammad as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, there's a caller on the line. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, brother. Your name and your
my
question?
name is Waqar. I'm calling from London.
Okay.
And I'm a Sunni Muslim.
Okay.
And I just want to say it's a great honor to see Dr. Sayyid Ammar Nakshawani in the studio. I've listened to almost all his lectures online. And I've even got my fiance to listen to him as well.
Okay.
Especially on the jinn, we've benefited immensely from that lecture in particular.
Right.
And I just want to say thank you very much for representing Islam, Dr. Sayyid.
Thank you so much.
You know, it's so refreshing to listen to you in a way that young people, Sunni and Shia, brothers and sisters, can understand Islam. And you know, I just want to congratulate you for your hard work. I've got a couple of questions as well.
Sure, go ahead.
If that's okay with
Bismillah.
you. Well, one serious and the other two are less so. I'll start off with the two less serious questions. Firstly, how do you know Raheem Sterling? I've seen one of the videos. Secondly, is there any lectures in London that I could attend? Inshallah, you know, where I can benefit as well, because I've been on the Facebook page, but I can't really find any lectures that you do in London, and if so, how can I be part of the majlis? And lastly, the serious question is, and so it's a bit embarrassing, I suppose, for me asking this, but as a Sunni Muslim, I believe that, you know, a lot of Sunnis have lost the tradition and the love for Ahl Bayt. And I think this is one of the crises of Sunni Islam of our time. Do you know any Sunni authentic sources where I can learn more about Ahlul Bayt, especially the Imams, alayhi salam? Yeah, those are my questions, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you for your questions. And thank you for ringing in, Brother Waqar.
Yes, we thank Brother Waqar for ringing in. And as I said, it's always refreshing when other Muslims, Muslims from other
Most
schools
definitely.
of Islam are benefiting from the majalis. Just, in terms of him asking me about Raheem Sterling, well, I suppose I'm not a fan of Raheem anymore now that he's joined Manchester City. But still, he's a friend of ours, and you wish him well. In terms of lectures in London, as you know, much of the audience knows, I don't live in the UK, and so if there is anything, it'll normally be on my Facebook, on the website sayyidammar.com. That's when we'd say if there's any lectures in London, but certainly nothing in the near future. In terms of the question about Ahlul Sunnah and praises of
the sources, as it were.
Salam. What's very interesting is that most of history has been written by Ahlul Sunnah. It's as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala planned that, you know what, the writers of history will still prove Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. I can't say we have as many historical works as Ahlul Sunnah, yes?
Truth will always prevail.
But the truth of the light of the Prophet and his family has prevailed in the works of scholars of Ahlul Sunnah, yes? From the 2nd, 3rd, 4th century. And scholars from far and wide, scholars in Medina, scholars in Egypt, a phenomenal tradition of scholars in India, in places like Lucknow, where you may not have had him necessarily as authors necessarily who were Shia, but they had immense praise for Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So I would even say that, look, for example, if you want to find Ahlul Bayt specifically mentioned, even Muslim bin Hajjaj al-Nisapuri in his Sahih mentions, I leave behind the hadith, I leave behind the Quran and my Ahlul Bayt. Ahmad bin Hanbal and An-Nasa'i, yes, two of the renowned scholars of Ahlul Sunnah from the period of the, of the 3rd century, 4th century. You can find that scholars like that have written works where there is unbelievable praise of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Yes, the Musnad of Ahmad bin Hanbal has some phenomenal traditions by Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. Nasa'i, the Sunan of Nasa'i, and there's also the merits of Ali ibn Abi Talib when he writes all the khasa'is of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam and talks about all of the merits. And then you have other scholars who may come later on of a Sufi orientation, maybe, or scholars of a Mu'tazili orientation theologically. Ibn Abil Hadid in the Sharh of Nahj al-Balagha, maybe of a Mu'tazili orientation, but still writes a Sharh of the Nahj. Al-Muttaqi al-Hindi may be of a background that may not necessarily be Shi'i, but has immense praise of Al-Muhammad. So you have, for example, ulama who have come from India, ulama from Egypt, ulama from Palestine, ulama from Medina, but had phenomenal works on the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And these are definitely works that we need to study. And there has been great works which have looked at the Fada'il of Ahlul Bayt in the Sahih al-Sitta. Yes? Fada'il al-Khamsa fi Sahih al-Sitta is an example of a work where you can look at all the merits of Ahlul Bayt in the 6 Sahihs. That's a specific book.
I see.
The merits of the 5 in the 6 Sahihs. And that's something which can be studied as well. So these are examples of scholars who have written works about the merits of particular members of Ahlul Bayt or Ahlul Bayt generally.
Okay, Sayyid Ammar, we've got another call online. Assalamu alaikum, thank you for holding on so long.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, wa alaikum salam. Your name and your question, please?
Sure, my name is Fatima from London.
Okay.
So yeah, I've got a couple of questions actually. I'd like to extend on the very first question that came up. Just Sayyid Ammar, firstly, I'd like to ask about can you elaborate on the role of sisters in spreading the message of Ahlul Bayt, and regardless of the audience, whether, regardless of the gender, age, or religious affiliation. And secondly, what areas do you think is somewhat lacking the sisters' contribution and would benefit from some enrichment? Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, the first question I think I heard was about how sisters, the role of the sisters in our communities, women, in terms of the spread of the message of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Well, you have some phenomenal examples in history, and I think that ties into the second question in terms of looking at examples in history of women who have served this religion. Let us make something clear. Women in Islam can be role models for men as well. So when I'm going to mention the examples, we shouldn't just imagine the female role models in Islamic history are role models for females only. And the male role models in Islamic history are role models for male only. No. We can learn and benefit from the sacrifices of some immense personalities in Islamic history. And I don't just want to mention, Fatima al-Zahra, alayhi salam, or Sayyidah Zainab. Everybody probably knows the examples of the daughter and the granddaughter of the Prophet, peace be upon him and his family. But if you're looking for chastity, you look no further than Sayyidah Maryam, alayhi salam. If you want to look, for example, at the likes of Zubaydah, the wife of Harun al-Rashid, the generosity that she had within her, generosity anyone can take as an example in their lives today. Ghanwa, the daughter of Rushayd al-Hajari, the way she carried her father's body after Muawiyah had ordered the execution of her father, a great woman in Islamic history. Sumayya, mother of Ammar bin Yasir, the way she held on to her faith while Abu Jahl and Bani Makhzum were torturing her. These are but attributes of what can be there in our communities today. That with our sisters facing immense pressure sometimes in terms of holding on to their religion in certain parts of the world, these are great role models to take. But further than that, other areas where our sisters can be, role models for us in our communities. We need more sisters who give lectures about Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Imam al-Sadiq would praise a lady called Khalid, who used to give lectures having lost her arm because of Yusuf al-Thaqafi, but she would give lectures and he would talk about her eloquence. So we need more who are giving lectures. We need more, without a doubt, who are able to serve in the community, even as teachers. If you're not going to be a lecturer, serve as a teacher within the Muslim community. And further than that, let me make something very clear. To be a soldier of the 12th Imam, a soldier of the Mahdi, you could be a lawyer, you could be a banker, you can be an optician, you could be an accountant. But if you're using these to serve the Muslim community, in turn you're serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Alhamdulillah.
So any profession in reality where you're giving back to the creation is a profession giving back to the creator.
Yeah, we'll come back to that point again. I mean, I think there were even more recent examples such as Bint al-Huda, Aidul Barqa, Sada's sister. So we'll come back to this point if we can, inshallah. Sure. There's another call in line. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, sister, your name and your question, please.
Hi, my name is Natasha.
Okay, Natasha.
My question is this. I'm a new revert.
Right.
And I came from Hinduism straight to Shia Islam.
Okay.
But I live in the Middle East, and I find a lot of people kind of hate Shias.
Right.
So how do I deal with that? Because I feel a lot of the time I'm hiding.
Okay.
Sure. In the Middle East, sadly, the hatred towards the Shia is so evident. Jordan is a country which does not have, a place for the followers of Ahlul Bayt to worship. Like Ja'far al-Tayyar, brother of Imam Ali, buried in Mu'tah, is a stranger in that land. And sadly, it remains one of the few lands in the Middle East where you have no Imam Barga, no Husseiniya in Jordan. You have Palestine, for example. I don't know how many in Palestine actually think that Shia are Muslims. I hope someone actually does research on that one day to ask the Palestinian community in Palestine whether they believe Shia are Rawafid or whether they call them Muslims. Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, you see the hatred is evident from the recent bomb blasts.
Yes.
Bahrain, the amount of innocent followers of Ahlul Bayt who have been imprisoned. And that's why on that point you then praise the countries in the Middle East which are more open-minded. Countries such as Oman, where the Sultan has been so humble and generous in the way he has allowed the Shia to live and practice in Ma'atim, in Husayniyat, in Imam Barga's mosques over there. And he really is a role model for all in terms of the plurality of the dimensions concerning the different schools of the religion of Islam. The Ibadi school allows the Shia, the Sunni, the non-Muslim all to be living in peace in Oman. In Lebanon you find the followers of Ahlul Bayt are there, the Christians are there, the Sunnis are there, in relative peace, and there's a democratic process there is. Which we can learn from as well. If you look at, for example, Dubai, you'll find that in the United Arab Emirates, they will allow the followers of Ahlul Bayt to practice, but there's certain restrictions. And it's very sad that we've reached a stage because the founding fathers of some of these countries were personalities who used to take part in the Ashura procession.
Okay.
Sheikh Zayed was of those people who used to pay for the food on the 10th of Muharram for the majalis of Ahlul Bayt.
Right.
Whereas sadly now, that same vigor is not publicly represented.
Okay.
Maybe secretly between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, all you can do in these countries is try and let your manners allow people to understand what we are. No need for any arrogant, ignorant statements.
Yeah.
Allow your manners to be triumphant above all.
Right, okay. But do you think the hatred is possibly due to the masses not understanding certain areas, such as intercession, so on and so forth?
Yeah,
we'll come back to this because there's another caller in line saying, Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Yes, sister, your name and your question, please.
My name's Fatima, and I just wanted to know what's the significance of the number 3 in Islam, because every time after Jamaat Namaz, 3 salawats are recited, and it's recommended to drink water in 3 sips.
Right.
But as I grew up, I was told 3 is not a good number because of the 3 khulafa, so I'm a bit confused of which to take and which not to take.
Okay. Significance of the number 3.
Well, we don't deny in Islam there is numerology and there are sciences behind the secrets behind certain numbers. However, that perfect knowledge lies with Allah and the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. If someone may ask, what's the secret behind the number 7, for example, Tawaf and so on, the heavens and the earth.
Yes.
Ultimately, that knowledge lies with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I wouldn't be too, worried and lose any sleep about numbers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Just going back to that point about why is there so much hatred, as it were, in the Middle East. Do you think that's also because the masses from other schools of thought have not understood who really the Ahlul Bayt are, what really the Holy Quran is talking about, what really the Holy Prophet actually left, as it were, as a legacy? The 2 weighty things, again, we come back to Saqifa. Why do you think there's so much hatred? Do you think because there's so much love in our school of thought, so much humility, the sacrifice, there's everything?
Well, you could come from different angles to answer this question. Firstly, man is an enemy of that which they are ignorant of, You don't want no one to burst your bubble. You don't want no one to burst your worldview.
Yeah.
You've been brought up to love certain people. You've been brought up to have a particular understanding of a narrative of your sacred history.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, you have a group of people who say, no, we actually have a different reading of that history. You don't want to read what they're saying.
No.
You just want to say, no.
I don't accept
That's it. I don't accept. I will give you a story. I was in Saudi Arabia for Hajj.
Right.
I'd gone to a bookshop over there, me and a friend of mine. And the bookshop must have had about 7,000 books. There was a Pakistani, Sudanese and Afghani, the 3 of them were the staff in the bookshop. And, they looked at us and, they're polite guys. And they looked at us and they said, where are you guys from? So we said, Iraq. So they said, are you Shia? So I said, yes, we're Shia. So what did the guy do? He started beating his chest. So I said, yes, it's better than suicide bombing. At least we only harm ourselves and we don't harm the whole area.
Yeah.
So he started laughing. I started laughing. And then he said to me, brother, listen, I need to guide you. And I said, in which way? He said, the Holy Prophet left behind the Quran and the Sunnah. And you have to follow this. I said, where's this written? So what do you mean? I said to him, where's it written that the Prophet said, I leave behind the Quran and Sunnah? Which book? He said, in all the books. I said, okay, show me. Here I am in a bookshop. How many books? 7,000. Show me where it's written. In the 6 Sahihs. Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, Abu Dawood and Ibn Majah. Show me in these Sahih books where it's written that the Prophet said, I leave behind for you the Quran and my Sunnah. So he looked at me and he said to me, and this is Saudi Arabia, yeah? He looked at me and said, so what's the hadith? I said, he said, I leave behind the Quran and my Ahlul Bayt. He said, no way. I said, yes. He said, that's impossible. Every Friday prayer we've been to. He said, Quran and Sunnah. And I'm speaking for Saudi Arabia. I'm not speaking for the other countries in the world where maybe they have mentioned Quran and Ahlul Bayt.
Yes.
He said, show me it now. Now I looked around in this bookshop, you've got Sahih Muslim, Sahih Bukhari, but you've got different versions of them. Now I know the number of the hadith of Thaqalain, Quran and Ahl-Bayt, but now I've got to find it. The version that I've read about it may be different from the versions that are available
in his bookshop.
So what happened was, I found the hadith, Quran, I found the hadith in front of him, yes? The hadith begins that the Prophet stopped at a place called Khum.
Okay.
Ghadir, Khum. Because people always say the last sermon of the Holy Prophet was where? In Hajj. Then what's this place that he stopped in called Khum?
Khum.
People say, but Khum is not strategically the right place to stop. But why is he stopped in Khum?
Yeah, there's got to be a reason.
If someone's telling me, oh, there's no such thing as Khum, you know what, Khum is not strategic for him to say anything important. The fact is that Muslim bin Hajjaj al-Nisapuri, in his Sahih Muslim,
yes,
mentions that the Prophet stopped at a watering place called Khum. He stopped there. He said, I'm going to return to my Lord. I leave behind two weighty things, the Quran and my Ahlul Bayt, my Ahlul Bayt, my Ahlul Bayt. Me and this guy are reading this together. Where? In Saudi Arabia. So while we're reading this, then it says, we asked Rasulullah, are your wives part of the Ahlul Bayt? Because sometimes people say Ahlul Bayt includes the wives.
Yes.
He said, the Ahlul Bayt refers to those who cannot take sadaqah. Yes, my wives, for example, Zainab, Hafsa, Aisha, these can take sadaqah. Sadat can't, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Then it said, who are your Ahlul Bayt? Hadith says, sons of Ali, sons of Ja'far, sons of Aqil, sons of Abbas. Okay. So when it said all of this, imagine where is the Saudi Arabia? So you don't tell me Sahih Muslim published in Iran or something. In Saudi Arabia, in a bookshop, opposite the Kaaba.
Yeah. You
know what happened to this guy? Trembled. Honestly, trembled. He trembled. He sat down on the chair. I got a bit worried because I hope I haven't done nothing. I haven't hurt this guy in any way. And all of a sudden, Saudi Arabian guy walks past. He goes, "What are you discussing?" I said, "Hadith Thaqalain." So what does it say? I said, well, it says, clearly in Sahih Muslim, in Saudi Arabia. It says that the Prophet said, I leave behind the Quran and my Ahlul Bayt. Ahlul Bayt are alongside the Quran. The person looked at me and said, no, it's Quran and Sunnah. I said, no, here it's written Quran and Ahlul Bayt.
Mm-hmm.
He said, no, it's Quran and Sunnah. Then he looked at me and he said, what are you going to do about it? Imagine in front of God's house. You have Sahih Muslim saying Quran and Ahlul Bayt, and I've got someone telling me it's Quran and Sunnah. What are you going to do about it? I'm telling him, this is what's written in the book. And that's why Allah in the Quran says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ. Yes? We created man in the best of molds. But you want to see Asfal al-Safilin? Look at man, how low he can become. That I've shown you in your own country Quran and Ahlul Bayt, and you insist it's Quran and Sunnah? When Sahih Muslim, you tell me Sahih Muslim is one of the most important books. It's clearly saying Quran and Ahlul Bayt. It's saying the Ahlul Bayt are the sons of Ali. It's saying the wives are not part of where this is revealed. It's saying that he stopped at Khum.
What
else do you want to do?
Exactly.
So when you tell me in the Middle East, the books, half the problem with Shia and Sunnis, they don't read.
No, quite right.
Sunnis don't read their own books. Shia don't read their own books.
That's right.
And none of us are going to start reading each other's books.
Yes.
If we started reading more, this ignorance will go. Listen, I'm not a missionary to make you a Shia.
No.
You want to be Shia, it's because you want to find the purest path to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Correct?
Yes,
that's the meaning
absolutely.
of why you're Shia Sunni. You want to find the purest path to the Holy Prophet upon his family. In my worldview, there is no one who knows Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam than his family. The same way Allah chose Ismail and Ishaq and Ibrahim, why would he suddenly change it with Muhammad?
Exactly.
If he chose Ishaq, Al Ibrahim, and Allah stafa Adam wa Nuh, wa Al Ibrahim, yes? When he chose Al Ibrahim, Al Amran, he chose families to look after the message. Why suddenly change?
Yes.
Man is an enemy of that which they are ignorant of.
Absolutely.
And that's why in the Middle East, this ignorance, this unwillingness to read, this unwillingness to burst the bubble is what leads to this sad hypocrisy that you see.
Okay, so now we're going to just go into a short break. Viewers, just do join us again in the next couple of minutes, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.